Hello class, and today we are going to go down into the Catacombs area so we can finish that up and finally get another one of the Lord Souls. So, you may remember the path from here, but I'm going to play it normal, I think, just to help you guys refresh your memory a bit. So maybe wondering why I had so much delay. Well, one word, vacation. And even this video, and maybe the next one if I get to it, we'll have a week break between it because I'm going on vacation again, or rather summer camp. So anyway, this is just because I had a bit of free time one day, because I figured, well, these guys have been waiting for so long, might as well give them a video. So, you might like my new profile picture. I added in the horns from the Black Knight and the fire from a Pyromancer picture, both of which I found online, of course. So, yeah. Hope you guys like it, because I figured just the Dark Souls cover art with my name on it wasn't that inventive. So, yeah. Anyway, let's get on with the video. As you can see, if you remember the floating head guys, they explode, you can't kill them, and they only do physical damage, so it is entirely possible to block their attack. The only thing you really have to worry about with them is the knockback, because they push you back really far, so make sure you're either facing a wall or in no danger of being pushed off a cliff. So we've already been through here and killed the Necromancer a few times, just so we can get the Great Scythe, I believe. So we don't need to worry about that. Although there will be some skeletons that actually do respawn later. So you should be very careful of that. Oh, and just so you guys know, I recently acquired the Dark Souls Xbox version, and I can definitely testify that playing on the PC version with a controller is the best way to play Dark Souls, because, quite honestly, it has all the features, the DLC, and the graphics are probably a little better. Even if not, there's mods, and any problems you might have can be tweaked with a mod online called DS Fix. If you guys want to find that, it's all you. I've personally never tried it because I find playing like this to be just fine. So, yeah. Anyway, let's get on with the video. We've already killed most of the Necromancers, although there are a few we have not quite done yet. So, anyway. So, most of these skeletons will be killed instantly, although there will be some bits later where I'm forced to fight respawning skeletons, which is not fun. Anyway, there's the Lucerne, one of the few great hammers in the game. Let's go ahead and take a look. It's not terribly good in most respects, although it's a clubbing halberd pretty much. So if you guys want to use that, that's alright. Although it does do thrusting damage. As before, any weapon I find here that you guys think you might like, it's all you. So any build you guys want to try out, it's all you, and you can do whatever you want in this game. This is just my guide, mostly for how to get all the items, and my personal preference for how new players to Dark Souls should complete the game, because this is definitely the easiest way to do it. So, you don't want any skeletons following you, so let's head along our way. More soul items, of course. And don't drop down there, because otherwise you'll have to walk all the way through there again. Down this way there's a bridge we already flipped to get the Great Scythe. And down here, so there's a couple more skeletons whose Necromancer we have already killed, as you can see, because we got souls from that. There are plenty of shortcuts involving the dropped bridges. You can use a great many of them if you wish, and skip most of the catacombs in its entirety. So that area over there does have a drop-away floor. I believe it leads right down to the Great Scythe, but I'm not going to go with that for now, because we already have it, of course. Anyway, so down this way. Be careful, don't go too close to that statue, because it has these spikes that barely do any damage to our heavily armored person. And, yeah, down there is the blacksmith, as you may remember, so you can head down there if you want to, do a little bit of upgrading, spend some souls. But other than that, we're actually pretty much mostly fully upgraded by now anyway. The only things we have left are a couple of the final levels on our weapons and armor. Although there is one more item later we can grab. I will show you guys that when we get to it, of course. So anyway, let's go here. No, it's not it. So I am looking for a secret area in this game. I'll talk to you guys more about that when I find it, of course. So let's head down to the blacksmith then, because we've got some upgrading to do. So down here, that lever's already pushed in, so don't have to worry about that. And apparently we're not going to visit the blacksmith this time. Sorry if I seem a bit disconnected and not knowing what's going to happen, because honestly this was a while ago and I honestly actually don't remember. So, yeah. Anyway, it's down here. The bridge is already flipped, but there is a bonfire through this illusory wall. It used to be illusory, but we broke it open earlier. So anyway, you can hear the waterfall in the background. Go ahead and sit down. So there's a... As you can see, we only have a few levels left on most of our things, but we'll get to that when we get to it. So anyway, down this way. Careful of the spikes, although they don't really do anything at all. The only really danger they have is surprising you. So as you can see, we already had that lever pulled by Trusty Patches. It was actually supposed to be a trap and flip us off, but the way we did it, it was actually helpful. So he tricked Trusty Patches into helping us. Quite funny in my opinion. But anyway, I'll show you guys more of Trusty Patches, because he is actually later in this area. So anyway, down this way. Through this fog gate that leads into more catacombs. This place is really quite big. So anyway, as you can see, his eyes were still glowing as he died, and we did not receive any souls for his death. He just parried us. Quite pitiful, really. See how much damage that did? It's ridiculous. Anyway, so these guys are respawning. So we need to find the Necromancer. But first, here is a secret area containing a super secret item that leads us to a super secret covenant later in Anor Londo. So here I actually think that I thought that these skeletons were non-respawning. While I was here I realized, oh wait, they're not dying. And yeah, that took me way longer than it should have to figure that out. Yeah, that's about when I figured it out. Anyway, down this way. And the giant skeletons, which are here, do not actually have necromancers. So there's the secret covenant ring. We're going to guide you guys to that once we get back to a warpable bonfire, I think. Although maybe we'll revisit it later. But I know I will be showing it to you guys eventually. Anyway, up this way. Be careful not to lose all your stamina or you'll fall off and take quite a bit of falling damage. So these skeleton archers also respawn, so be careful of that. And down this way. Actually, it took me quite a bit to figure out how to get down here. Most of these areas I've never actually been to myself on occasion. So that was a really close one. So I think I got just trounced on there. Anyway, so many of these areas I've only read about in wikis and such. But overall, I've actually played through the game and beaten it twice. I've recently started a no shield fists only run on the Xbox version. So that would be quite fun, although I can't show it to you guys. But anyway, let's now that we're in this bigger open area, we've finally reached the Necromancer for these skeletons, I think. No, he's further down. So you can just ignore these guys, unless you really want them to stop chasing you, but they just respawn eventually anyway, so it's really not worth it to kill them. Maybe, I must have missed the Necromancer for these guys at some point, although I maybe killed him later, but for now here is quite a few actual graves. So that is the way you're supposed to go, but I have a few things to show you guys. So down here is another Titanite demon. Whoopee! These guys just keep showing up. So, just get rid of him. This might take a bit. So, usually I stop my videos around 30 minutes, which is why there aren't very many sped up bits. But if I do happen to leave it running too long, like there's no good stopping point, there will be some more sped up bits. So Anyway, these guys always drop Demon Titania, and this time we got the Titania Catch Pole, which is their weapon. It does magic damage. Unfortunately, we can't shoot lightning with it. But basically, it's just a magic-enhanced halberd. It's really not all that great, but it's there. So there's 3 Eyes of Death, the Covenant item for the Gravelord's Servants. They're probably wondering, who are the Gravelord's Servants? I am about to show you. So, you may remember... So, the Gravelord Servants use said Eyes of Death to infect other players' worlds with Black Phantom enemies, which are a much harder version, in addition to the normal enemies. To get rid of these Black Phantom enemies, the people whose world that you are in have to invade you and kill you. So that is that's how that works. So, but you have to be in the Covenant to use it. They also get a couple area of effect, blade, rise spells or something like that, along with a pretty powerful sword by itself. It's actually a good all-game weapon that a lot of people use, like the Zweihander that you can get really early on and use for most of the game. If you want to run down to the Catacombs and use it, you can join the Gravelords and get the sword, along with the miracle that requires 0 faith. You can go ahead and do that. I'm not actually going to join the Gravelord Servants, but I am going to show you the area where you can. So, anyway, this is a cutscene where a skeleton, or some such, pushed you along into this area, which is actually the final boss of the Tomb of the Giants, the area after the Catacombs, so you might be wondering, who is the leader of the Gravelord Servants? You're probably thinking, oh, some guy called the Gravelord, right? Well, he's Nito himself. So you're actually going to have to kill him in order to get his Lord Soul later. I'm going to do the actual boss fight, although it may be possible to kill him here, although it looks like he's way out of reach. Anyway, you can enter his Covenant, get the sword and the miracle, and level up a bit with Eyes of Death that you get every time you kill the person invading your world as a Gravelord Servant. So, yeah. I'm actually going to go ahead and equip the binoculars here and show you guys a close-up view of Nito, which we will not get any later in the game. As you can see, he's completely made out of skeletons, and this is kind of freaky as they all wiggle around a bit. The actual boss fight with him is more of a horde rush than a boss fight. He swarms respawning skeletons at you, big and small, and Nito attacks you himself with area of effect spells, long-ranged sword through the ground things, and plenty of really powerful area of effect attacks that actually manage to kill his skeletons too, permanently, I think. So anyway, now that you've waited out the cutscene, you don't have to wait for it anymore. So we can just head right back out and continue on with the Catacombs. So yeah. So the boss of this area, named Pinwheel, is actually one of the weakest bosses in the game compared to how late in the game you actually fight him. So that's an interesting little tidbit, because I am literally going to kill him in like 3 hits. So yeah. If you guys want to come down here later, avoid the skeletons, and get past the areas here, you can actually fight Pinwheel and get the Rite of Kindling earlier than normal. So if you guys want to do that early on, that's fine by me, but basically what it does is give you access to more Estus Flasks earlier in the game, as he is a very weak boss. And he also gives you a really nice piece of head armor, one of a set of 3, the Mask of the Child, Mother, and Father. And there's a Black Knight. And he actually killed me. So, anyway. So Pinwheel drops one of 3 masks automatically. The Mask of the Mother increases your maximum health by a bit. The Mask of the Father increases your maximum equip load by a bit. And the Mask of the Child gives you stamina regeneration speed sped up. So, I'm hoping for the Mask of the Child, but I don't actually get it, unfortunately. So anyway, he also gives you the Rite of Kindling, which allows you to kindle up to 20, requiring 3 humanity, 4 if you count the reverse hollowing. And yeah, that's pretty much it. This later area here, down here, is guarded by wheel skeletons. The Black Knight we killed there actually could have gotten us the Black Knight Greatsword, which is arguably the best Black Knight weapon, which is also arguably the best kind of weapons. So, if you're super lucky and you get the Black Knight Great Axe, be very happy. These guys down here are wheel skeletons. You may remember them from the Painted World, if I've shown you that yet. Can't quite remember, but I think I have. Anyway, so they're really annoying if you let them get you, as I'm pretty sure I've explained later, or earlier. And, yeah, they're easy to kill and they don't have necromancers attached to them, which is quite nice. But if you let them just sit in front of you, they'll just batter away your shield like nothing else, and if you let them actually hit you, you're pretty much screwed. As you can see, they just constantly attack until they slide up a bit. So apparently the wheels are actually entwined with their bodies, which is kind of weird, but it makes them one of the most devastating people in the entire game. So anyway, so let's head down this way. And this is actually actually no, it's not. This is a little area with a necromancer in it, hiding behind those skeletons. So we killed the necromancer, and the rest of the normal skeletons in this area should be up for perma-killing, finally. There's also a neat little shortcut up here, I think, or maybe a long cut, I don't know. But anyway, just go up here, and should be a few items. Actually, this is where we died last. This is a shortcut back up to the normal bit of the catacombs. Quite nice. It's also a shortcut back down, I assume. So yeah, there you have it. So down this way, and through here. So this area with the wheel skeletons is one of the most well-known. But anyway, if you manage to get, if you're in human form in this area, you can actually summon a phantom to help you with this boss fight. His name is Paladin Leroy. So if you want to, you can go ahead and summon him as you're coming down into the area. It's nice if you're coming here earlier than you should, but other than that, I didn't summon him because this boss fight's so easy and I didn't want to head back to the bonfire and do all that stuff just so I can show you guys another phantom that I can just explain in the video about. So anyway, so basically you should be very easy to see him. He's just on one of the ledges that you can come down in. It's quite easy to find him if you're in human form, and I guess he would help a bit with the boss, but you really don't need him. Anyway, let's go ahead and equip our bolts that we just bought there, along with these sniper bolts. So now we have a ranged option, if ever necessary. So down this way. So the ranged option isn't actually all that good, but if you guys want to use it, it's all you. There will be a better one later that we will grab and fully upgrade. So anyway, down this way, and down, and apparently I can't get that item. I think that's also where Paladin Leroy spawns. I'm not entirely sure how to get there, but if you guys explore a bit, I'm sure you can. I'm pretty sure it's just a soul item as well. Anyway, here's the boss fight room. The boss fight does not trigger immediately, actually. There's just a little more of a hallway. That's basically just to stop the wheel skeletons from following you, that fog gate there. So anyway, now that you're here, you just drop down, and the cutscene for Pinwheel will play. So, there's actually quite a bit of interesting lore surrounding this guy. So, he is a practitioner of necromancy, an art he stole a bit from the Grave Lord. He's trying to use this to resurrect his family. He actually sort of succeeded. They are all merged into one being somehow, as you can tell by the masks, the father, mother, and child in ascending order. So apparently, they don't like you for invading their work. So he can make duplicates of himself and shoot big balls of fire at you. Other than that, as you can see how much damage we got with one light attack, that's a third of his health. There's this one video on the internet that is a pinwheel fight you could literally miss if you blinked. These guys jumped down, got all prepared with their homing soul masses and stuff. His phantoms jumped down before he did. Then he dropped down, and you guys got their homing so messed to fire, and he literally died within 2 seconds of the cutscene ending. It was great. Anyway, we can now kindle up to 20 with the Rite of Kindling. We have a Humanity and a Homeward Bone as well, as with most bosses. And he dropped the Mask of the Father, which raises our equip load slightly. So that's pretty nice. Unfortunately, we still can't fast roll in Hables, which is kind of funny. Anyway, so let's run up here. And this will actually become necessary later, the Mask of the Father, because we are going to pick up a lantern, which will allow us to see better in this incredibly dark area. But it will also raise our equip load by enough to make us fat roll somehow, unfortunately. So we're going to have to use the Mask of the Father in order to be able to mid-roll again. So anyway, you can drop down there to go back to the main area if you want to. Rather than that, we're just going to head down into the Tomb of the Giants, which is arguably, and can be proven to be, the darkest area in the entire game. So be prepared for a lot of slow inching where you can't see what you're going for, and fights in the dark with enemies. So yeah, let's run up here, and over here again. Now luckily for this first bit, there's actually these little flares that can help guide you along your path. So you just follow the flares pretty much. So down this way, and down here. So as you can imagine by the name Tomb of the Giants, this place is populated by giant skeletons. Fortunately, there is no necromancers, so you don't need to worry about any of them respawning at all. So these giant skeletons will often jump out of the darkness at you, which is quite frightening in my opinion. So just be ready for a few scares if you can't spot their eyes, which are always glowing when they're alive. It's very hard to see where you're going in this area for sure. Wait, down here is a little slide that you can't actually get back up. Fortunately, there's nothing up here for you, unless you guys want to go check back there and check. Other than that, it's really not all that necessary. So you can see there's a cliff there that we will not want to go to. Oh, there's more giant skeletons. Ah, so many. Anyway, they drop 1,000 souls each. Once you get the lantern, this area is actually quite easy to go through. So if you want to kill the skeletons and grant a few souls, could be nice. But overall, we're actually pretty high level. So anyway, you might find a way to grab that item. I certainly haven't, but if you can, it's all you. So anyway, here's Trusty Patches. So he does not like clerics. So when he asks if you're a cleric, you say no. When someone asks if you're a cleric, you say no. So he's telling you there's a stash down, there's treasure down that hole. So if you guys have ever played Demon's Souls, this might actually, I've seen a video where he actually, where he actually did this exact same thing in the previous game. They brought this character back because he was a fan favorite. So anyway, so apparently you just look down the hole, and you will see what Trusty Patches will do to you later. Okay, so let's walk up to here. A nice little cutscene will play. This is actually highly recommended to do, even though the outcome looks bad. But overall, it's actually very profitable in the long run. So Patches will actually kick you down the hole, as he did before in Demon's Souls. So, yeah. Can't wait to get back up there and talk to him again. So apparently, the stuff we're holding on us is the real treasure. But what he failed to realize is that there's a lantern down here. Luckily for us. So anyway, there's 3 items. A soul item, another soul item, and the most valuable treasure of all, the skull lantern. This is quite the awesome thing. We're going to go ahead and equip it next to our shield. And unfortunately, we're fat rolling now somehow with that measly little 0.5 weight of it. So let's go ahead and slip on the Mask of the Father so that we can mid-roll again. So anyway, it takes the place of our shield, so when you're fighting you might want to switch back. Otherwise it's much easier to traverse this area with the lantern on. So there's the cleric person that came down here. Apparently Trusty Patches, either Trusty Patches or Petrus tricked them down into this hole, and her 2 guards actually went hollow. So down here they are. So give them a good thwacking, and we can collect our reward. So that's one down, and one to go. These guys are actually one of the easier enemies to fight, as they're most hollow people. They do nothing to mimic the PvP battles, because they're much faster paced in PvP, and the enemy is actually vaguely as powerful as you. So we are going to grab the replenishment miracle, which is quite nice. It's basically HP regeneration. So you cast it, and your hit points go up really fast, and your hit points recharge really fast. It's basically invulnerability, although not quite as powerful as an item later in the expansion, Elizabeth's Mushroom, which basically actually does make you invincible as long as you don't get one hit killed. There's these things called bone towers. They sometimes drop white titanite chunks, but not that often. Other than that, they just sit there and look annoying. So they do have some pretty deadly attacks if you let them fire them off, but otherwise it's not really that bad. So you may notice the blue things on the wall. Those are actually flares that are only visible when we use our skull lantern. So that gives us a clue to where we're going. So we made a complete circle. Let's head down and follow the flares. Down this way. And down here. As you can see, we're running out of Estus, unfortunately. So we're going to have to find a bonfire soon. Anyway, let's run up this way. Follow the flares, kill the bone towers, and kill a few more bone towers. So, now that we're done here, let's go ahead and take one of our last swigs of Estus and climb up this ladder that leads us out of the hole and up to where Trusty Patches is, actually. So if you make a right at the top of this ladder and continue along that path, you will come back to where Trusty Patches is. You can talk to him if you actually... I think it's you make a left. I'm not entirely certain, actually. I think it is you make a left. You continue past this area. Now, this is actually a really neat, interesting tidbit I found. No game, as you may know, is without its glitches. So, let's go ahead and drop down here and show you one of Dark Souls' few. So, fortunately, I've never encountered many glitches, except graphical ones, in any other part of the game. So this one is more of a collision detection error, along with a few enemy hits problems. So I've never actually even heard of this area before in any of the other games. And this is probably the reason. Fell through everything, and I'm now in a white void. So there's nothing I can do here except to turn my character around a bit and move the camera slightly. So there's one of the arrows. Anyway, this is one of the only glitches I have ever seen in the entirety of Dark Souls, fortunately. I just thought I should show it to you guys because I thought it was really funny. Anyway, after falling for so long, it just goes ahead and auto-kills us, so that we can return to the last bonfire, which happens to be actually still in the Catacombs. I'm going to go ahead and skip a bit of the video, and take us right back to Trusty Patches. So, it's a funny little glitch there. Anyway, cut to Patches. So, he didn't mean it, really. Anyway, so what you're supposed to say here is no, but I'm a nice person, so I say yes. If you say no, the exact same thing will happen, except you'll actually get a couple of humanities off him. So say no in this conversation. He should return to Firelink as soon as you defeat Nito and become a merchant, but I don't actually see him. I think he might only appear if you say no to his request of absolving his misdeeds. So anyway, there's these weird undead dog things. They're really kind of strange, but they really only exist to... They're basically just a flurry attack version of the giant skeletons. They have less health. 6,666 souls. Oh, and I died. Heh. Anyway. So, there's a black knight down there. He followed me up here, and a few hits from his halberd got me dead. So anyway, here he comes now. You can hear his footsteps. Anyway, I'm gonna go check for him. There he is! He is one of the halberd-wielding knights. The halberd is arguably the other best weapon. It was one of the most overpowered weapons before the DLC was released on the PC version. Might still be really ridiculously overpowered in the Xbox or PS3 versions, or in earlier updates probably. So anyway, kill the Black Knight, grab another white titanite chunk, and let's go ahead and run down to the bonfire. Although there are a few things we can do first. Although I'm actually just going to make a run for it because I am running out of time now, and I really have to get going at this point in time. I'm going to go ahead and finish off the video earlier than normal and run down and show you guys the bonfire because I am really tired of respawning back into Catacombs and trekking all the way back. These guys didn't have to watch that. Anyway, let's go ahead and take a... kill these guys first. They followed us and the bonfire won't work with them so close. Anyway, now the bonfire works. So we don't have enough souls to level up, not even close. So let's go ahead and consume a few of those soul items we've grabbed. So this bit might be a little tedious to some of you, but overall you just consume a few humanities, right? So, and there, and there, and only 2 more. So you've got quite a few souls from that. That's pretty nice. So no more soul items, nothing to use specifically, really. So let's go ahead and consume a twin humanity so that we can kindle this bonfire up. Now, as you may recall, we can actually kindle it beyond 10. We can actually kindle it now up to 20, as I said earlier, which is pretty nice because we are going to need a bit of extra Estus for this Nido fight. Anyway, so let's go ahead and end the video off. You guys can kindle this bonfire as much as you want, as I've said before. Anyway, that's all for this video, and I'll see you guys after the break. Bye.